Hello, today is Monday, May 4th. Welcome to episode 591 of Fault Lines, the National Security Institute's podcast that gets you quickly up to speed 3 times a week on the national security and foreign policy debate shaking up America. I'm NSI Advisory Board member Lester Munson. I'm joined today by founder and executive director Jamil Jaffer and senior fellows Jessica Jones and Andy Kaiser. Good morning, everyone. Folks, we're gonna talk about space today. As in May the 4th be with you.
Wow, you got it.
Today is May 4th. That's right. Tomorrow, of course, it's Cinco de Mayo, and also Taco Tuesday, which is a great combination.
That is a combo.
In keeping with this this amazing calendar phenomenon, we're going to talk about space. There is some news. There's a new nominee to be the head of Space Force, Lieutenant General Douglas Schiess, who is the deputy head of Space Force, will be elevated. So there's some news here. Also, here in the real world, the U.S. has been in a conflict with Iran and maybe again later today or in a week or a month or perhaps never. It's unclear. But space has been an issue. The U.S. has a lot of military assets in space it uses for command and control and intelligence gathering. So does China. So does Russia. What are those assets used for with respect to combat? How does that impact U.S. national security and foreign policy? We are dominant in the space arena, but not totally dominant. China has a lot of assets up there that are of concern. Also, and I'm just going to mention this because I think it's a fascinating sociological phenomenon. There appears to be some new information coming out about UAPs, unidentified anomalous phenomena, which is the new
aliens,
which is the new name for UFOs, unidentified flying objects. UAPs, the president has announced that there's information coming out. This has a lot of people excited. I do think it's interesting. You know, we've got a space program that has just orbited humans around the moon and brought them back safely in an amazing event while we were at war with Iran. And at the same time, we were rescuing a pilot who had been shot down in Iran. We're really, America doing a lot of things all at once. But the space program is hot again. We may be going to Mars. Folks, all of this stuff is coming together. It's May the 4th. Andy Kaiser, it's great to have you on the pod as always. What are your thoughts about space and U.S. national security?
Yeah, what gets me excited about space, Les, is like pushing the envelope, doing really hard things, it turns out, has a lot of spin-off effects that are positive to U.S. national security, to society more broadly. You know, putting a man on the moon led to things like cordless devices, the microprocessor, right?
Tang.
Kind of important innovations, Tang, freeze-dried food or ice cream, right? But pushing the envelope leads to these important innovations. So, you know, trying to get to Mars, everything Elon Musk is trying to do, or Blue Origin, or anyone, excites me because I get excited about those spin-off potentials. The same goes for a major upgrade to our missile defense program. That's going to be really difficult to do, really expensive. I think it would contribute to our national security, but maybe more importantly, just by doing that or by trying to do that, we will see important spin-off applications for U.S. national defense. So I am all for, I'm not one of these people that's like, we've been there, done that. We've seen the moon. Why do we need to see the other side? Like, let's keep pushing. It'll drive that next innovation. Something cool will come out of it. And now I can order, you know, my mocha from my phone because people pushed the way back in the 1960s. And now the phone that's sitting in all of our pockets has more computing capability than the space shuttle that put a man on the moon in the 1960s. So I think it's an exciting time, Wes.
Jones, I hope you're excited.
Well, it's Cinco de Mayo tomorrow, so how are we?
Right.
Not?
I mean, like, this is a big week. Jones, we live in a democracy. People get to vote on the priorities of their government over time. It may take a little bit, but is there momentum here for the American people to support a vigorous U.S. role in space? As Andy points out, it's very expensive. You got to have these missiles, you got to have rockets, you got to lift stuff up into orbit. It's not cheap to send people around the moon. It's not cheap to put a base on the moon. It's not cheap to go to Mars. All this stuff costs money. Are the American people going to be willing to spend this? And what's your reading of the tea leaves on maybe the next 10 years here?
Or they're going to say, what's my tea leaf reading of UFOs? And I was like, ooh, big ask, which I will answer. I think the president is trying to drum up as much interest as he can. And when it comes to the American public, right? He is the one that established the Space Force in 2019 in his first term. It's the first new military branch in 73 years. He has consistently framed it as a national security issue. When Schiess was nominated, he spoke on accelerating space capabilities, the warfighter, lethality, like these common talking points that we continue to hear from the administration. I should point out we're in maybe a conflict with Iran. We think about Venezuela, we think about China. This administration is pushing forward and the emphasis on the warfighter. Andy talked a bit about Golden Dome, and to your point, Les, like that's a project that isn't even in like probably the billions of dollars. We're talking maybe up to $1 trillion. Like that's a heavily expensive long-term project. And we've talked here on the show, we've got one administration, we're 1 year in, there's a couple years left. Is the next, if this administration can continue to push, the political will on its side, what happens in the next administration? What if there's a change? We're not even talking about Congress yet. So there leaves, there's a bit of ambiguity when it comes to the future of these programs. But what's really cool, to Andy's point about Golden Dome and some of these space projects, is that it's room also for these really cool startups that we're starting to hear about and the energy and momentum behind them. It's not just the legacies that are developing really cool technologies for the defense ecosystem. So I think there's going to be just a lot of cool stuff coming out. I will say on the UFOs, because you brought it up, Les, and we did hear yes, UAPs. We did hear that the president required agencies to release documents. But we've heard that before with, MLK, JFK, a whole lot of things were supposed to be released to the public. We're supposed to hear about like the secrets and some insights. I don't think we're going to get anything, though. As much as I would like to get some definitive answers, like the president himself hasn't even said if he believes in aliens. So like, I think this is the great president show, right? The showmanship right now. I don't think we're going to learn much.
Jamil, I'm going to give you a nice fat pitch right down the middle of the strike zone here. There is in the House of Representatives, the task force on the declassification of federal secrets, chaired by Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna. Her last name, Luna, means moon in Italian. They are looking at these UAPs. They're looking into a bunch of other stuff, but the UAPs seem to be the hot topic. We may be announcing, as Jones points out, we may be announcing new info here. Is any of this related to the increased interest of space as a national security frontier here? What are your thoughts?
Well, not unless the aliens have weapons they want to point at us. I think, look, I don't doubt that we're not alone in the universe. I'm confident that we are not alone in the universe. That being said, I don't think little green men are visiting us currently, or little green women are visiting us currently. I don't think they're bopping around. I don't think they're sitting
there. Quality. Thank you, Jamil. Little green men or
women. A little genderized, but that's okay.
For all we know, they're little green others that aren't even a gender that we know today. So who knows? We'll find out when they arrive. Probably not in this classified documents release, though, because I don't think we've interacted with them. I don't think the U.S. government has little green men or women or others that it's interacting with. I don't think they're hiding out at Area 51 or anywhere else in the U.S. government possession. I don't think there are other dimensional beings, as your Anna Paulina Luna suggested the other day, that there are multidimensional beings that she's apparently seen evidence of in a skiff. I've been in a lot of skiffs. I've never heard of any evidence of multidimensional beings.
I exist in at least 4 dimensions. So I am multidimensional. I don't know about you.
You are in fact very tall, and it may be that your tallness reaches into the time dimension of time. I haven't seen it as yet, but maybe that's so. But look, what I'd really rather talk about is actual national security threats in outer space, like the fact that the U.S. government has now declassified that China has at least 10 satellites on orbit that conduct space situational awareness, which is to say take pictures of other spacecraft. They have talked about now publicly the fact that China in 2022 had previously launched an SJ-21 satellite. That SJ-21 satellite in 2022 took a derelict Beidou navigation satellite and moved it to a graveyard orbit above GEO. What that says is that means that the Chinese can maneuver a satellite close enough, it was one of theirs to be fair, but close enough to grab it and move it somewhere else.
That was
That
in
is
that
not
was in the movie, the James Bond movie Moonraker, I believe. So fiction is the predecessor to fact, is it not?
Yeah. So and Isaac Asimov in fictional novels hypothesized the idea of satellites themselves, and so here we are. It may be that faction leads fact. Fiction leads fact. So we shall see. But look, the Russians are at it too. They've got these satellites that have sort of nested capabilities. So you'll launch one, and then 3 satellites will pop out, and then another 2 will pop out, and they'll start proliferating all over the place, doing stuff that we're not sure about, or at least the government hasn't told us what we think they're doing. China, like we do, have now autonomous space planes. They've launched 4 over time. The 4th one launched in February of this year. It's still in orbit. The first was only in orbit for a couple of days, but they got longer and longer. The second and third were in orbit for almost a year, 9 months. So we definitely have threats in outer space. And by the way, it's not just people who actually mean us harm. Our adversaries like China, Russia, Iran, North Korea. To be clear, Iran, North Korea don't have the counter space capabilities that we're aware of, but we shall see. The real challenge is also space debris. Right? We saw the Chinese destroy a satellite in 2007 with an anti-satellite weapon. That caused a serious amount of space debris, any small piece of which could damage our satellites on orbit. There's also just a proliferation of satellites in orbit with things like our Starlink constellation. China has 2 giant low Earth orbit constellations as well. So space is getting crowded, and a collision or a breakup of satellite or an intentional destruction of satellite could in fact cause significant threats to other satellites. So I'm more worried about the Chinese, the Russians, and space debris than I am about any little green men, women, or others. And so count me unimpressed by what we see potentially coming out of the Anna Paulina Luna Task Force or the Trump administration's up and coming UAP release. That being said, if it turns out we are talking to little green men or women or others or whatever, and or multidimensional beings, I am super excited to find out about it, but I don't buy it for a second.
Thank you for that lengthy monologue, Mr. Jaffer. That was a tour de force. And as a believer in extraterrestrial life, I'm a little concerned about your close-mindedness at the end there. I will just offer, President Trump has talked about UAPs. He has indicated that he's not necessarily a believer, but he doesn't want to alienate the believers. We also have a vice president who has said he is obsessed with aliens, although has not actually had the time to look into the matter. I am going to humbly... I'm going to humbly, and then of course we have the House Task Force, the Luna Task Force, which is a great name for a task force. I'm just going to humbly suggest here, there are political aspects to the UAP thing that we should not ignore. I'm not judging the realistic possibility of UAPs at all, one way or the other, but I think the politics of it are kind of interesting and seem to go hand in hand with the increased emphasis on our space program, both civilian and military.
Would you like to comment, Mr. Jaffer? We need to be worried about things in space, so we should invest in case little green men or women are coming. Is that? I never said that. If you want to say that, that's great.
The politics, when you say the politics, Leslie, you're saying the politics of distracting us from the Epstein files, the politics of distracting us from the war in Iran.
Is anyone actually distracted from the Epstein files?
Well, we haven't talked about them in a while, and we've been talking a lot about Iran.
But he's saying the word files. I mean, he is saying the word files again. It can be confusing what's being released.
Alien files.
Alien files.
Epstein files. Maybe the Epstein files are to distract us from the alien files. All right, that's a wrap. Thanks as always to Grace Trice, Claude Jennings, the NSI staff for their help in producing today's episode. Join us on Wednesday, May 6th for another episode of Fault Lines, the National Security Institute's podcast that gets you smart fast on the national security and foreign policy debate shaking up America. We're on YouTube. Check out our channel for a video of today's episode. See our smiling faces. If you like what you heard or saw, be sure to rate, review, and subscribe.